Okay, we are live. Hello, everybody. Hope you had a good week. Sorry about this being a later stream. Normally, I try to do these streams at 10, but I had some family stuff to do today, so now we're having our stream now. So, not much I'm going to do today. I'm going to try and get a little bit more progress on my ultramarine here. But I also came across this at a comic shop. It's one of those like freebie things that some stores have. It was actually, there were two, one of them, and this was the other one that I already painted, obviously. So I'm just gonna assemble this on stream and keep painting this guy. And yeah, that's basically it. Not much of an intro today because, to be fair, the I was outside a little bit today and the heat kind of got to me. So don't worry, I have my drinks, so I should be fine. Anyways, let's add this to stage. Bloop. Alrighty. Let me see if I can get to the corner here. Still figuring this out. Alright, bloop. Alrighty. There we go. Alright, so I have a couple videos that I want to watch with you guys. I have one by Pancreas, which I really like this guy. I've seen a couple of his videos talking about different aspects of Warhammer, both Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k. And he has one on the Adeptus Mechanicus, which I think would be interesting, and also a video about the three big commissars that pretty much everyone knows. And the only reason I want to put that up is I want to try and see if I can skip to the part where it talks about Gaunt, because I know a little bit about Commissar Yark and Commissar Kane, but I don't really know that much about Gaunt outside of the fact that he exists. So I want to learn a little bit more about the guy. So get this started. And oh, by the way, if you hear anything in the background, that's just my boyfriend. Don't worry, he promised to be quiet. Right, babe? All right, let's get into our first video.
No sense being coy with the intro, you already know what this video is going to be about. So for once in this channel's history, how about I just say my ultimate opinion right out of the gate? I like the Mechanicus a lot. Are there some grievances I have with them? Yeah, of course. But one of the things I like most about 40k is the setting. And unlike many things in Warhammer, they aren't directly ripping too many things off. Sure, there's the hatred of AI that's pretty likely inspired by Dune, like much of 40k is. But if the idea of not trusting computers is enough to say they're a ripoff, then I'm sorry to tell you this, but your grandparents are also probably ripping off of Dune. Their mannerisms and attitudes are, from what I can tell, not only fairly original, but something that embodies not only humanity in the setting, but also 40k as a whole very well. Very grim, very dark, and most of all, very, very weird. But how about instead of just going on about how I like them right away, I get into their history a bit more. Let's get past my own bias just a little bit and see if the Cogboys aren't the army for you. And even if they're not, you get to listen to the Mechanicus soundtrack for this video. That's always a good time. Before we begin, I'd like to ask you something. Do you want to cook and eat delicious, nutritious food, but sometimes you just don't have the time to make?
Not particularly.
If you're anything like roughly 100% of the people I know in my life, the answer to that is yes. In which case, you'd best listen up because this video was sponsored by HelloFresh. Fall is a busy time of year, there's no doubt about it. Between Halloween and Thanksgiving, you've got two major holidays back to back, and if you're a student, the finals are just around the corner. Well, then it's a good thing that with HelloFresh recipes, they're ready to go in 30 minutes or less. With whatever's going on in your life, be it holiday shopping and preparation or a mad dash to get all your classes in order for finals, it's quick as can be. Get yourself a HelloFresh meal cooked right up. They've even got step-by-step instructions, which is something
The only complaint I have about some of these is sometimes it's hard to tell what part of it is going to be like the little stubs that you can like push in the parts to, and what is like something to be clipped off. I think I'm doing pretty okay right now. Looks like it's one of the models from the Warhammer Fantasy, maybe Age of Sigmar. I'm not planning on getting any sets from that, but I figured, hey, this could be fun to put together.
cannot emphasize enough. I'll level with you here, I'm the kind of guy who could set cereal on fire. I'm not the best cook. And even if you're like me in the cooking department, you'll have no problem figuring out making one of HelloFresh's delicious recipes. You know what else HelloFresh makes easy for you? Eating healthy, that's what. Aside from the fact that they're all good food, regardless of what item you order, there's options ranging from vegetarian, pescatarian, as well as fit and wholesome meals to make sure you're on track to hit your goals. You can even customize your meals as well, which aside from being super convenient, means you can achieve peak fitness with exactly the kind of food you want. Add protein to a
Didn't HelloFresh get exposed for not being the greatest? but I think this video is like a couple years old, so this was way before any drama with any of the like promo stuff, because I know quite a few of the YouTubers used to be like shilling for this kind of stuff, and then they just stopped because it turns out that they were either a scam or it just wasn't that great.
Vegetarian meal, you absolute mad lad. HelloFresh supports it every step of the way. And before you start thinking something insane like HelloFresh being just for dinners, it's not. Everything from breakfast to snacks to even dessert can be planned out for you, and you don't even have to look at a grocery store any time in the process. Your entire day's eating can be taken care of with HelloFresh. If that's not convenient, I don't know what is. Before I go raid my fridge, because this sponsorship has made me hungry, if you click on the handy link located in both the pinned comment and description of this video, as well as use the code POG Pancreas SNOB70, you get not only 70% off your first order, but free shipping as well. I'm bad at math, and even I know this is an absolute steal. Start eating better and easier with HelloFresh today. Now then, let's get technical. Get it? See what I did there?
The one thing that I really don't like about some of the assembly of Warhammer figurines is the glue, because half the time the glue does not want to work. I had to, well, I didn't have to, but I was assembling some minis at a convention where I was being a vendor at, and halfway through the convention, the glue decided to stop working magically. And obviously I'm like, what the hell? And then it magically started working again. Yeah. Oh well. At least I got his body done. I don't know if it's a he or a she. The bust looks a bit busty.
Alright, fine, I'll get on with the video. To understand the Mechanicus, we must first go back in time. Many millennia before the year 40,000, the future God Emperor of mankind locked a dragon inside of Mars. Moving on from that surely unimportant plot point, during humanity's gold...
Oh yeah, the dragon. It's like the Catan dragon. Yeah, I think that, like, if I remember correctly, it's like a Necron thing. Maybe not a Necron thing. Wait. Oh wait, that was the one. That was the dragon that promised the Necrons their immortality, and then turned them into robot skeletons. That's right. Oh, yeah. Lots of information you have to remember for 40k lore.
Golden Age, now known as the Dark Age of Technology, mankind had not only colonized Mars, but terraformed it as well, like in pretty much every science fiction story. Then things went radically wrong, starting when the Men of Iron AI servants mankind had rebelled, and Mars went back to being an irradiated shithole. All that was habitable on Mars were underground facilities and airtight domes. Starvation and other problems rapidly set in, and it was up to whatever technicians that survived to keep Mars from becoming completely uninhabitable. Over time, Martian culture changed because of all of this. Technology became an object of worship, and those with the know-how to work it became its priests. This religion also manifested the belief of an all-knowing god of technology, creatively known as the Machine God. He likes order, technology, and replacing your genitals with USB ports and or sticks. Eventually, the God Emperor...
That is something very, like, both goofy and also kind of grimdark about the Mechanicus, is they're firm believers of just not even out of necessity, just replacing your body parts with machines, because which is goofy in a way, but also kind of horrifying in another. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that they were literally doing it out of a sense of worship, you would swear that they had some sort of body dysmorphia.
Became Anakin, and he was worshipped as an aspect of the machine god that was known as the Omnissiah. The Omnissiah is also sometimes just what they call him, the machine god, and sometimes he's something else entirely. And also a lot of the tech priests don't actually believe the Emperor is the Omnissiah, but just roll with it to avoid any problems. This vagueness of what their belief truly is something that you'll soon see as a running theme with the Mechanicus. Or should I say Mechanicum, because they weren't the Mechanicus quite yet, but I'll get to that.
This is kind of reminded me of, there's this clip going around of sheep detectives, where the sheep are like wandering around outside of the barn because their shepherd got murdered, and so they're trying to figure out why he was murdered. So, oh, he had two heads. I like this one better. And they pass by a church, and they're like, oh, what's this building? And that's like, this is a church. This is a place where God lives. The person called God lives. God is a shepherd, but he is also a sheep. And he also is bread, and the people come here to eat God. It's just the way that they try to explain what religion is humorous, because of the whole, the whole real life thing when it comes to, like, what is God, what's the Holy Spirit, and what is Jesus. And it's like they're all their own separate entities, but they're all the same entity, which is, I can understand how that can be kind of confusing for outsiders.
That later. For now, its influence spread across mankind with the Great Crusade, and as the Emperor's realm spread, so too did the Mechanicums. Knowing that he needed the tech priests to help run his empire, he gave them a special exemption from the no religion rule that he created. This kept them happy enough, and they gave him the industry that he needed. Then the Horus Heresy broke out, and half the Mechanicum turned to chaos alongside the Space Marine legions and the army.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that the Mechanicus also turned against the Emperor, too.
This was actually the center of a civil war that had fighting almost as fierce as was on Terra when Horus invaded it. But unfortunately, that didn't really involve any Primarchs, so it obviously only deserved 1/20th of the attention Terra got. Daddy issues are clearly more interesting than science fiction robot priests duking it out on a Mad Max planet. After
Yeah, I definitely want to hear the second option a little bit more. But yeah, daddy issues are very much baked into the world of Warhammer 40k, which is kind of funny.
the Horus Heresy and eventual disappearance of all the Primarchs, two important things regarding the Mechanicum happened. One, they ate all of the other scientific organizations in the Imperium. There were a few kicking around beforehand, though of course not as influential as the Mechanicum, and they were swiftly absorbed into it and made to follow its doctrines. Two, it became the Adeptus Mechanicus we know and love today. It did so for reasons largely bureaucratic in nature. As the Mechanicum, it was technically a client empire of the Imperium as a whole, but with the Imperial governance growing larger and larger and the Ecclesiarchate gaining more and more power as worship of the Emperor exploded across humanity, they wanted a way to put them on a more level playing field with the rest of the Imperium's organizations. And as technical outsiders, they wouldn't be able to do nearly what they could do as an official Adeptus organization. The Mechanicum also faced a bit of a loyalty conundrum while operating under the system. The various vassals the Mechanicum itself had weren't sure if they were supposed to be loyal to the Mechanicum directly or the larger Imperium first. Becoming an official Adeptus organization resolved both issues. Now they were a part of the Imperium of Man officially, so no need to worry about loyalty problems or other politicians doing some fuckery that they couldn't deal with due to their technical status as foreigners.
So the Mechanicus is basically the Imperium's Puerto Rico? Interesting.
Between this meaning that other imperial politicians in turn had more direct say in Mechanicus affairs, and the Mechanicum ambassador marching a Titan into the Imperial Senate chambers to help negotiations proceed, the rest of the Imperial Senate was quick to go along with this as well. We finally have the Adeptus Mechanicus proper as it would come to be known. Also, holy shit, how big is the Imperial Senate they can fit a Titan in their meeting room? As for the rest of their history, the Mechanicus is one
And that's a very big question.
simple overarching goal: to find and understand technology that has been lost to humanity. And boy, is there a lot of it to find. Humanity's scientific prowess is both incredible and widespread across the galaxy, so the Mechanicus regularly sends fleets across space to find what mankind has lost. They also preserve what remains and make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Sometimes this means defending a forge world from chaos or orcs until their dying breath. Sometimes this means skipping out and giving a guard regiment the equipment they need because you're a greedy bastard, and safeguarding ancient relics is a good excuse to have. Inventing new stuff is not really officially supported, but that just means you have to get creative with it. No, Mr. Fabricator General, I didn't invent this piece of technology. I found it in this laboratory. Pay no attention to the fact that it's a lab that I just built. I can assure you this is ancient technology.
That's Belisarius' call, isn't it? I find it so interesting that even though they are part of the Imperium and it's their whole thing to, make technology work and find technology, that they're not allowed to like improve a little bit on it or tweak a little bit on it, or else they'd be considered a heresy. It's like, that seems counterintuitive, especially when the other races are happy to keep reinventing themselves or to like keep doing what they're doing. Like the Necrons are still very much a threat, as well as the Eldar, who have, from what I can tell, no qualms with inventing new technology. So it's like, why would you keep the faction that is basically they're your IT guy from, coming up with stuff to beat the other IT guys who want to kill you? Like that doesn't make sense to me, but whatever.
Granted, if you're that blatant with it, you're probably going to get lobotomized, but it's that kind of thing individual tech priests do to avoid getting in trouble. And some of the higher-ups are willing to allow this to different degrees, as long as you're creative with your justifications, or just throw it in a dirt pile for a couple months so it looks really old, whatever works. Creating AI is something that's usually never allowed, though. That doesn't stop some tech priests from still getting away with it. call, but usually that gets you insta-killed if you're found out. Humanity already had one AI rebellion in this setting. No one wants another one. They're the only people around in the Imperium if you want pretty much anything made. From
I wonder if Games Workshop is going to explore like a tech priest inventing an AI and he's having like the exact same problems with AI like we are, like how in our current time AI will sometimes just hallucinate things and will start doing stuff behind our backs, and once we finally turn our head back it's like, oh yeah, I exchanged all of our shares for peanuts because I think peanuts are cool or something. Or AI going off the rails, assuming one piece of information and rolling with it. Or there's another that I saw where it was like two AI chatbots that were talking with each other on how to solve the world's problems, and they came to the conclusion, hey, the best way we can solve the world's problem is to just get rid of humanity. It's like, oh, which I'm pretty sure that that last one was the AI rebellion, but you know,
weapons of war to more mundane things like transportation, the Mechanicus builds it all. They don't have a monopoly on technology, they have a monopoly on pretty much everything. For example, maybe they'll subcontract out the shipping to someone else, but the Mechanicus is the one who builds the truck the shipping company uses. If they don't do that, they make the parts that the company who builds the truck uses, or they maintain the merchant vessels that ship the materials to the planet of whoever makes the part. This gives them not only massive sway in imperial politics, but it means that their worlds can survive on their own if cut off from the Imperium at large for at least some amount of time. It also means that people like Inquisitors and Commissars have to be a lot more careful when dealing with the Mechanicus. If you accuse a Locomagos of being a heretic, there's pretty decent odds that the nearest Imperial Guard regiment is going to be losing out on a few shipments of weapons if you were a bit too eager in your accusation. They're not withholding equipment from you, it's just production errors, they'll likely tell you. It can't be helped. For this reason, the Mechanicus is largely independent and polices itself. Sure, Inquisitors will still get involved, but they've got to be a lot more polite about it than with other organizations. The rest of their lore can be integrated into their pros and cons, so how about I just start with that now? Like I said at the very beginning, the Mechanicus are very unique as far as 40k goes. I love my Eldar, but being honest, they're just elves in space. Sure, there's a lot of things that make them stand out, but at the end of the day, they're a race of aliens that are thin and lanky, have pointy ears, and do magic real good. Not hard to see where the inspiration for them comes from. Tech priests, meanwhile, are pretty unique with their worship of technology and almost fetishistic level with which they tear their own organs out to replace with RGB gaming keyboards and water coolers.
I'm sure there probably is like some basis for the Mechanicus. I mean, it's not just because Games Workshop has a habit of just blatantly plagiarizing concepts from other fantasy and sci-fi books into their universe. It's just that there literally is no original idea anymore. Even back in the 80s when this started, there's no original idea anymore. So I'm sure if you went looking for it, there probably is a basis of inspiration for the Mechanicus. It's just, it may be either so different that you can't quite tell at first, or it's like something so obscure in like this one very obscure sci-fi novel that nobody has read, that it's like, how do you find it and prove that it was an inspiration?
So if you want your army to stand out, you can't go wrong with the Mechanicus. They've also got some of the best technology in the setting by far. In terms of who's got better tech than them, only the Necrons completely outclass them. Technically, the Leagues of Votann do now as well, but something to take note of is that both the Votann and the Mechanicus both draw from the same source, that being equipment from the Dark Age of technology. Sure, the Votann have much more widespread access to it, but the Mechanicus doubtlessly have some of their own equivalents stored away somewhere. The Tau might have better stuff for the average person, but the higher-end Mechanicus stuff would blow away a Tau equivalent. Eldar tech is hard to compare because it's more magic than tech, but the Mechanicus can to some extent replicate what the Eldar can do. That being said, the Eldar...
There's a frequent joke of how many tech priests does it take to screw in a light bulb, and I forget the exact number, but it's like 1600, about such and such, to have a whole civil war on who gets to do it. One tech priest who gets to ask an Eldar to ask for a little bit of help in figuring out how the best way to do it or how to improve upon screwing in a light bulb, and the rest get to accuse everybody else of heresy.
do generally outclass the Mechanicus.
I totally butchered that joke, but I just can't remember the numbers off the top of my head right now.
Still. What? It may be the Mechanicus video, but I'm an Eldar fanboy. What do you want from me? Something I really appreciate about the Mechanicus as well is that they really showcase just how bizarre and downright awful humanity in this setting is. People tend to forget that in 40k, mankind is supposed to be no better than anyone else, including GW itself when they put out artwork that makes Gilliman look like Jesus. The Adeptus Mechanicus, though? Just look at Call. Can you even call him human anymore? And while I might be drawing a bit for this point from what I saw in a Mandalore gaming video, look at the Mechanicus ship from the Deathwing video game. It's powered in part by a human being strapped to an engine that's also got two other human beings connected to it. And somehow I doubt they're feeling very good about their position in life right about now. They don't give a damn about their workers, and they regularly mess with the emotional centers of their brain to be quote-unquote more logical. Their mindset...
Oh yeah, the Mechanicus are the ones who have these things called the Servitors, and the Servitors are basically, they were declared enemies of the Imperium, and they were prisoners at one point until they got lobotomized and half of their body parts got replaced as equipment, and now they're just slaves for the Mechanicus to use. Which is, yeah, pretty damn grimdark.
That is so detached from not only our own morals, but that of other Imperials, that they're in many ways just as alien as an Eldar or a Necron, sometimes more so. They...
Alright, I think my little dude is done. I hope I got it right. So yeah, that's what my little dude looks like. Just need to get him primed, which I'm sure I'll be able to do sometime this week, because this week I have my staycation. I'll be home all week, well, almost all week. I have something on Monday to do. But yeah, I'll be able to prime that, and he can sit on my shelf for the next 3 months until I finally get around to painting him. Yippee! Yippee! Alright, I'll put you up here for now, and I'll worry about you later.
Rapidly throw away their humanity to become one with technology. They regularly lobotomize people because it makes for slightly more efficient workforces, and if there's even the chance of finding some archaeotech from the Golden Age, they don't care how many people they gotta kill to get it. If you want a reminder that in 40k, humanity is strange and very much not the good guys of the setting, then the Mechanicus are perfect for you. With that being said, you can fluff your Cogby army to be as good as 40k morals allow. Tech priests can be motivated by genuinely altruistic desires, namely that of rebuilding mankind's technological and industrial base to what it once was. It's still Warhammer, and tech priests regularly screw each other with politicking if it suits them, to say nothing of how they treat other Imperials that don't have a gaming laptop jammed into their brain, but that just means that your army can be as good or evil as you want it to be. Again, you know, by 40k standards. To go a bit more into their dogma, you also have a huge amount of wiggle room for how exactly you want your Mechanicus army to view technology itself. They worship it and believe it to be divine, that much is set in stone. But even within canon itself, the specifics are often vague and left open to interpretation. For example, machine spirits. These are what the Imperium calls AI, and they're in pretty much every piece of technology. Of course, are machine spirits actual artificial intelligence with sapience and personalities and such? Or are they merely the fragmented and corrupted remains of AI? Or are they not even real, and the procedures to please them
Trying to file off some of the little grainy bits on the gold here, because I think I need to dilute the gold a little bit more just to make it look good. It looks super crusty. It looks fine on the more like standard stuff, but it does not look good on the shoulder pads. I'll have to redo that. And I also want to make the wings look good too. Oh, I need to touch up all the blue. I need to do a lot of touch up on the blue. Damn.
are just the normal maintenance protocols we would have in the real world to do something like change the car's oil or run an antivirus software, just with incense being added at every step. Or are machine spirits actual spirits who demand proper praise and adoration? Otherwise, your gun is going to misfire at the worst possible moment, and your Baneblade is going to go berserk because you didn't rub its joystick in just the way it likes it. Each of these possibilities are equally fair game for building your army, and all have their own appeals for how you want to view the 40k universe. Likewise, you can have an army run by Maguses that fully believe the Emperor is an aspect of the machine god, or ones that deny such things and only go along with it to avoid the Imperium's wrath. All of these and more are all possible options for how you want to homebrew your Mechanicus army. They also have diverse mentalities and beliefs, to a point which I will get into in the con section. The video game Mechanicus is a perfect showcase of this. One tech priest is fanatical about following the Mechanicus' creeds, believing that alien technology truly is evil and that the Necron should be destroyed entirely. Another is fanatical in the complete opposite direction. He thinks that Necron tech should be studied and replicated at all costs to advance.
Gee, I wonder who that one is. Yeah, when I like Belisarius Call is like the big example of someone who will willingly engage with Xenos technology in order to better understand how to improve upon human technology. And he has Belisarius Cawl has actually worked with Necrons in the past, most famously when he was with Arcadia and he worked with Trizon the Infinite. And then Trizon tried to kidnap him because he wanted to put Cawl in his museum, but Call's like, hey, how about instead of kidnapping me, you kidnap this other dude? And then Cawl just fucked off as fast as he could while Trizon took the other dude to be his little museum exhibit slash slave slash I don't know. Trizon's a very complicated dude.
Humanity and the Mechanicus' power. Both of them are at different times shown to be in the right and the wrong, so fluffing your army in either direction or somewhere in the middle is perfectly valid either way. Another positive to take note of is the survivability of the Mechanicus. Without the Tech Priests, the Imperium cannot survive. It would lose access to pretty much all of its material resources beyond manpower, and when you take away guns from the Imperial Guard, you take away its usefulness. Throwing countless bodies at the Tyranids without giving them guns is a great way to feed a hive fleet. The Imperial Navy would waste away into nothingness, and even the Space Marines would find it hard to keep their stuff going. Except for the Salamanders, I guess, but that's one chapter that would have no problem surviving out of 1,000. The Mechanicus, meanwhile, might be able to survive independently. For the most part, they probably wouldn't be able to call upon the Guard and Marines to aid them in battle anymore, but they can make all the fancy toys and whatnot to keep themselves safe for at least some amount of time. They're also numerically strong enough to endure some pretty severe losses while being tough enough to be able to rely upon more than just numbers in a fight. So if you want a faction that's in zero danger of dying out, you want the Mechanicus. This also gives them a lot of sway within the Imperium itself, as I've mentioned before. No one wants to piss them off any more than necessary, because without them, you're not getting any weapons. This gives them a huge amount of leeway that no one else really has, not even the head priests of the Imperium. When you can take your ball and go home at any point you want, people will put up with your bullshit a bit longer than usual. Their models are also gorgeous. They're a newer addition as far as standalone armies go, so this does make sense. They not only look good, but distinct on the tabletop. And once again, they really drive home that feeling.
I need to get an eyedropper to do this, to dilute, because this is very time consuming. Just hope it's not super grainy this time, because it looks gross. It looks good when it's like, stop being so coarse. If any of you guys have a better solution of how to make the gold do what I want it to do, please leave a comment.
That humanity in 40K is fundamentally screwed up beyond belief. Look at this model and tell me a morally stable society would ever allow this thing to be created, let alone that this would be considered an ideal state of being for a human. But I
mean, it's ideal for the Mechanicus.
I digress. Their models are good, and that's really all I have to say on the matter for now. There's another loaded statement for you to ponder over for the next few minutes. Oh, one last thing, they're also all plastic. That benefit alone makes them worth collecting more than some other armies. No resin for you if you go with the mech heads, hell yeah. Now, time for tabletop positives. First off, the Mechanicus are very mobile. Most of their army has either an 8-inch or 12-inch movement, which makes sense when you think about how they cut off their legs and replace it with motor-driven pistons. There's not a single Skitarii who's got to slow down.
Hey, I think I see my dude there. Yeah, my little dude. Yeah, that's him. It's my little dude. Over there in the corner there. There he is. I hope I could get good enough with painting to make him look just as good as that. I'm sure I'll get there someday, right, little dude? Yeah, you're gonna look perfect when I'm done with you.
Cramp in his leg. And that's not even counting all the units with the fly keyword that'll just zoom around the battlefield at will.
It kind of looks like something the Night Lords would come up with, to be honest, because of the Batwing aesthetic.
They're also incredibly flexible as an army. I'd say they lean a bit more towards the shooty end of things than the stabby end, but you can always surprise your enemy by tossing some Sicarians at them, or Fulgurite Electro Priests. Aside from that name being awesome, they hit pretty damn hard in melee. Of course, ranged is still their strong suit, and while they only deal 1 damage a pop, at strength 4 and hitting on 3-ups, your basic Skitarii Ranger is going to be hitting more often than not, as well as pretty reliably wounding anything weaker than a Space Marine. If you want to lean into the monster side of things, throw Castellan robots into the fray. They aren't as tough as some other enemy monstrous units, but they're certainly certainly tougher than most basic infantry. Combine that with the fact that they can fire in melee combat now due to being monstrous units, and they can really put the hurt on while tanking a reasonable amount of damage in return. Plus, if you roll a 6, they explode when they go down, so that can always be a nice final middle finger to whoever took them out. Canticles and Doctrine and Imperatives both help out in this department as well as being just some plain old nifty buffs. Canticles affect pretty much every unit that is in a Skitarii, while Doctrine and Imperatives only help Skitarii. Each can only be used for a single battle round, but they go into effect instantly even if the opponent is going first, which both helps the flexibility of the Mechanicus as well as allows for some surprise tricks that can throw the opponent's game plan off kilter. Canticles just give straight up buffs, while the Imperatives also give a debuff to counteract the buff, but to be honest with you, the debuff really isn't worth worrying about in most instances. For instance, the Bulwark Imperative makes a unit move 3 inches slower, but buffs their armor save by 1. If they're already in a position to be opening fire though, odds are decent that you don't need to be moving them that much, so from my point of view, this is pretty much just a buff. Or the one that improves the unit's ability to hit in melee while debuffing their ability to hit a ranged attack. I don't think the flying Skitarii dual-wielding swords is going to care much about that. He just wants to stab. Lastly, pretty much every Mechanicus unit has either a 5 or 6 plus invulnerable save. Because of this, they can take a pretty surprising amount of fire before crumbling, though there's a flip side of this that you can probably guess at I'll get to later. But first, the lore cons. There's two possibilities for the Mechanicus regarding their collection of technology, both of which suck for different reasons. One is that they're genuinely losing more and more tech as time goes by and are fighting a losing battle to desperately keep mankind from going full caveman. The other is that they're hoarding all the best stuff and allowing everyone but themselves to go full caveman. If the former, then even the people in the Imperium with the best shot of fixing this mess can't do anything about it. If the latter, then the entire organization is filled with selfish assholes that can't comprehend the idea of sharing something even if it would help everyone in the long run. Well, yes, there are instances where the Mechanicus is legitimately in the right for hoarding away dangerous or unstable equipment. Just as frequently, they keep stuff for no other reason than to give themselves an advantage over the rest of the Imperium.
I think it's a little bit of both from what I've seen from different lore videos. Because there are cases where they do genuinely want to improve upon humanity. Like Paul, despite all of his eccentricities, we'll say, he does legitimately want to help out humanity. Whereas other tech priests are very corrupt. They're just as corrupt as the human priests. Well, I guess they're still human.
Also, I said that the tech priests are diverse and wants and needs up to a point. I'm going to describe a tech priest character to you, see if you can guess who it is. It thinks that mankind is primitive compared to what it once was and that the Imperium's tech is woefully inadequate. It will do whatever it needs to in order to acquire lost technology. It worships machines, and it's generally very robotic in nature even when it does feel emotions. Can you name the tech priest I'm talking about? Probably, because I just described all of them. I just want a single tech priest that breaks this mold just a little bit. Because I fear I might not be clear enough on what I want, let me just be as blatant as possible. I want Rudolf von Stroheim, the tech priest. Come on, tell me that wouldn't be a sight to see. Imagine some guardsmen and Tau are on a planet fighting over the latest sphere expansion. Things are tense, and the Tau are poised to take over with their advanced weaponry and whatnot. All of a sudden, some Mechanicus adept comes flying onto the battlefield from orbit, screaming about how Imperial science is the finest in the galaxy, before he starts hip thrusting at the enemy and a bolter embedded in his chest rips the Tau to pieces. Tell me that wouldn't be the best goddamn thing to happen.
That would be very, very funny. Yeah, I have seen like fan comics of the different tech priests where some of them for some priests it ranges from they are like kind of have like a weird sexual thing with technology, with how obsessive they are, and some of them are like self-aware enough where they don't devolve into like screwing over the rest of humanity, but whatever.
To the Mechanicus. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem very likely to happen, because aside from little quirks or views on things like AI each tech priest may have, their overarching goals and ideologies are pretty much carbon copies of one another. They're also rarely the protagonists of a story. This has changed more and more lately, such as with games like Mechanicus or Call Reviving Guilliman, but a tech priest is generally relegated to the supporting cast. So as much as the cyborg monks are kick-ass, they don't often get the spotlight in the setting. Even with Call, his shining accomplishments have been working on a project alongside Guilliman or bringing the Blueberry Bastard back to life. On a similar note, Mechanicus might not be in charge of technology, like even remotely. Remember that dragon I said the Emperor locked away in Mars? Yeah, it's a Catan, or at least a big shard of one, the Void Dragon specifically, the one who controls machines, located on the capital planet of the faction that is obsessed with machines and lost technology. If that theory is true, and it is still really just a theory, and he gets out and is angry at the Mechanicus, they can kiss all their fancy equipment goodbye. In fact, he might be the machine god / Omni-Psi in disguise. The lore on this isn't 100% certain, just to be totally in the clear, but it's a distinct possibility given that the Necrons have launched suicide attacks on Mars in the past to get at something under the planet. Also, on the topic of the machine god, as well as other things like machine spirits, it might not exist. There's been pretty much no lore on it doing anything, unlike any other godlike being in the setting. Even the Tau have that greater good spirit thing kicking around, but the machine god hasn't done jack shit. The same thing goes for the vagueness the Mechanicus has with the machine spirits and whether or not they're actually AI fragments, or straight up just spirits. On the one hand, this does create room for some really interesting debate and interpretations of the lore. Something like the machine god actually being some unbelievably powerful AI computer out there that would make Photon look pathetic. On the other hand, if you like having some actual clear-cut answers for your lore, then you won't get any here. And it also raises the possibility that the Mechanicus are the only faction in 40k who are entirely incorrect in their spiritual beliefs, which would be lame as hell. Also, if their god is actually just a Necron god, that would make them Warhammer 40k's equivalent of Bretonnia, and I would have a fucking stroke. What else do I have? I'm probably just nitpicking at this point. Oh yeah, I kind of wish that there'd be more of an emphasis on human-looking Mechanicus adepts. Theoretically, you could get your augmentations to be damn near indistinguishable from normal human features, and tech priests generally don't start off their careers completely covered in metal tentacles. But all we ever really see in lore are ones at the end of the process where they're more machine than man. It'd be really interesting to see a follower of the machine god at the other end of the spectrum, at the start of their career as a tech priest. The holy human form is something that 40k mankind is obsessed with, but the Cogboys wipe their ass with that notion, evidently. Alright, tabletop cons, what have we got here? First off, all of that flexibility and potential buffs that they have comes with a downside in that the Mechanicus is complicated as shit to play. Fitting, all things told, given that they're machine people, but still very complicated nonetheless. You will have to keep track of an absolute mountain of keywords, buffs, and unit statistics to make the most out of this army. It kind of reminds me of the Eldar, except instead of getting punished
Okay, so don't play Mechanicus for a little while. Got it.
for misplacing a unit, you get punished because you didn't memorize an entire AP US history exam's worth of rules. Be sure to look at the rules thoroughly for this army, because you might just straight up not know that you can do something or miss out on a buff if you don't. Those Canicals and Doctrinas being a once per game use also limits their effectiveness. Beyond the obvious drawback of you can only do each of them once, you need to make sure you time it right. Otherwise, you might find out that you could have absolutely
Maybe I should start learning how to do my own makeup properly. Maybe it'll help me improve my painting skills.
clowned on your opponent if you just waited a turn or used them a turn earlier and now you're caught with your pants down. You don't need to use either of them on any given turn, but that can still give you the problem of missing a major opportunity that you'll never get again. Giving the remaining Skitarii of a unit +1 to their armor save doesn't really do much when there's only 2 of them left standing. Speaking of saves, remember how they all have an invulnerable one? This is because with few exceptions, this army has absolutely no staying power apart from that save. Skitarii, for instance, are all toughness 3, so that invulnerable save isn't something that makes them broken. It's what they need to not get gunned down by every weapon in the game stronger than a las gun. Similarly, their leadership is bad. Morale is actually something you need to worry about with Mechanicus, especially given their low toughness. And if you don't have the CP or right units to buff this problem away, you might find your battle line disintegrating after just a few hits. You might say that the Imperial Guard or other armies also have this problem, and to be fair, that's true, but the Guard are a true Horde army aside from their tanks. The Mechanicus can field an appreciable amount of models on the battlefield, but not enough like a proper Horde army where you can lose 20 models in a single turn and be able to confidently say that this doesn't affect your game plan in the slightest. Now this one is a big one. No Psychers or Psychic Defense. The only real option you have is if you use Forge World Grio's rule set for your army, and that requires both a command point spent and rolling above a 4 to nullify the psychic power. Otherwise, you have 2 options. You need to take allied Imperium Psyker models, or you just need to try and kill any Psychers before they can cast anything crucial. And depending on who you're up against, that may or may not be possible. Magnus isn't just going to lay down and let you table him on turn 2. This is related to 2 other problems. First one being, if you take allies, you don't get things like you don't get any Canicals. Even if you take Knights of the Cog, which are Imperial Knights allowed to benefit from Mechanicus buffs, you don't get Canicals, which is a damn shame because they're very helpful. The second, and a much worse problem, is that the Mechanicus struggle with causing mortal wounds. Now, on many units, if you roll
That seems... what?
a 6, you're going to cause mortal wounds for days. But let me ask you, do you really want to rely on rolling a 6 to carry the day for you? That is asking to be let down. I don't care how many command points you blow on rerolls, how many dice you roll. If you rely on rolling a 6, you aren't getting one. Second to last problem with the Mechanicus is one that's as predictable as the sun rising in the morning, and that's the problem of money. Well, if you double down on Castellans and other vehicles and transports, they won't be the worst. If you want a varied and or competitive army, then you'll be shelling out some cash. The last problem is entirely to do with their models. Could you do me a favor and look at Call again for a moment? Tell me where to even begin to start painting this abomination.
I don't want to even think about it because I'm still on Space Marine level. I don't even want to think about tackling the guy I have before even looking at Call.
No, you know what? Where do we even start assembling him? If your heart's set on collecting and playing the Mechanicus, I'd say that the biggest downside more than anything in their rules is you're going to be assembling and painting so many fiddly bits and tiny details. It's just, God, even if the assembling isn't that bad, painting basic Skitarii alone is a nightmare. You've got your nice flat robe to paint, and then congratulations, have fun differentiating 50 different varieties of tube. Someone really needs to tell Games Workshop designers that when creating a model, sometimes less is more. So there's the Mechanicus basics for you. If you enjoy
No, that's not the point. The point of painting is to suffer and then enjoy the results. Suffer and enjoy, suffer and enjoy, suffer and enjoy. That's how this works around here.
with electrical sockets and being a greedy hoarder, there's no better army for you. Thank you as always to my wonderful channel members. You are the Archaeotech to my Mechanicus, filling me with wonder and awe at the power of the ancients. If you'd like to support the channel, feel free to subscribe or become a member. Either way, thank you for watching and take care out there.
This is why I like Pancreas. He lays out a lot of stuff, not just the lore stuff, but also like the tabletop stuff. Though apparently he's not, like, quite a few people don't really like him. I don't know why. I mean, he's pretty informative. I think maybe it's because he has like a tone about it, like a very not so serious tone about it. I'm not saying he doesn't take it seriously. I'm just saying that he's not like super boasting all about the greatness and whatnot, which some fanboys will probably take as, oh, he's negative. Okay, so now that we got the Mechanicus video away, let's take a look at the other one. Still doing good, babe? All right. All right. And boop.
The war in the Warhammer 40,000 universe is absolute and all-encompassing. A lone infantryman on the battlefield is nothing more than a pawn. He is feeble, his lasgun only suitable against equally barely armored wretches. It is said that the average lifespan of a guardsman on the front lines is a mere 15 hours.
Is that like average as in you can expect most guardsmen, or average as in, oh yeah, like half of them die within like 15 seconds, but some of them can last up to 24 hours?
You can verify this if you wish. The Guard always needs volunteers. Headquarters receive reports from the fronts in torrents. Squads, platoons, companies are annihilated. 100,000 wounded, 50,000 more dead. The enemy has deployed weapons of mass destruction. The survivors are too exhausted, and there isn't enough time to dig mass graves. The stench of the dead clouds the sky. Their putrid blood defiles yet another world. An ordinary day of an ordinary campaign somewhere on the edge of eternal war. To drive a fragile human being who has witnessed this hell firsthand forward to fight can only be accomplished by the threat of immediate death. But what if a person has nothing left to lose? He moves forward and surrenders himself to the mercy of the Golden Throne. Sometimes, if the master of mankind is especially gracious to him, the person not only survives but becomes a celebrity, an idol for billions. Even more rarely, his name echoes throughout the Imperium. And today, we will indeed talk about such a fortunate one, if this word is even applicable to the inhabitants of the grim future. That Ibram Gaunt is an outstanding defender of humans is beyond doubt.
Oh good, he's the first one.
But let's leave the worn cliches for the biographers and chroniclers. We will try to understand what truly grants a soldier genuine greatness. This is a complicated matter, and as always in such cases, we must begin from afar. I slept on my bed, covered in snowbark, and your plains are stained with my young blood. I will not be late for the battle and stand in the wide ranks. Take me, remake me, and forever lead me forward. Tales of old Earth. The Imperium is not only a state, but a dream of it. From the first day when the Creator proclaimed the unity of terror and the armies of mankind poured into space, it began to be realized. The sudden end of the Great Crusade slowed its victorious advance, but the dream lived, breathed, and beat in millions of brave hearts.
Please tell me this is not just a reading. And because I really want to learn about Gaunt. Can someone tell me about Gaunt?
Okay, drop the misplaced pathos and let's say this. In the world of Warhammer, to stay alive, you must be ready for a good fight every second, or better attack yourself, so that the enemy whines, clutching their torn bellies. In the 35th millennium, humanity's personal reach extended to the future Sabbat worlds. This galaxy region lies on the edge of the vast Segmentum Pacificus. It comprises over 100 star systems full of opportunities, treachery, and mysteries. Then, to conquer this uncharted space, myriads of brave souls and a living saint leading them into battle were needed. Oh, Sabbat, the beautiful angel of the Emperor, then every child of the Imperium knew you. At your word, Commissar, I will inspire the weak, support the wavering, lead those who have lost their way. I will become
Okay, maybe the
everything to
comments can
those
help
who
us.
need me, but I will also exact retribution on the incompetent,
Okay.
the cowards and the traitors without hesitation. Colonel Commissar Ibram Gaunt.
Oh, here we
Our
are.
entire character is rooted in childhood. And even for the best people, there are no exceptions. The man named Ibram Gaunt had his beginnings with the death of his father, the second-in-command officer of the Jantine Patricians. Death in battle is not the worst death in Warhammer, you might say, and you would be right. Yet it likely offered no solace to a sullen 12-year-old new to the Schola Progenium. Diligent and devout, he mastered the science of inspiration and the craft of fear, the principal tools in the hands of any commissar. Many years later, Gaunt would learn that his parent was betrayed by his own brother, General Aldo Dersius. Aldo left his relative to be torn apart by orcs to save his own skin. Dersius was also the benefactor who ensured his nephew's education in the Schola Progenium, which, as it turned out, saved him from retribution.
So it's like, is that he felt bad and that's why he helped him out, or that he was just trying to save his own skin again? I mean, he's still a scumbag, but if he was at least trying to make it up to Gaunt, I mean, that'd be cool.
The first significant act that young Ibram carried out as a full-fledged commissar was the execution of his own uncle.
Oh, there we go.
A traitor and a coward. This is the first pillar of heroism. Whatever you do, see it through to the end, and let everything else go to hell. Destiny,
I like
a
that
coin,
attitude.
always has two sides. And the beacon that illuminated the soul of Ibram Gaunt was his mentor, the high-ranking commissar Delane Oktar. He upheld the morale of the Hyrcan regiments of the Astra Militarum and turned them into an elite fighting unit of the Imperium. We are primarily interested in his philosophy and professional creed, for they became the internal core upon which Cadet Gaunt became who he was destined to be in the future. Let us give the floor to the old commissar. He spoke thus: learn to lie, trust no one, don't get involved in local politics, lead by example for your people, do not...
Oh yeah, that's actually don't get involved in local politics. That's actually what I was told before I went to study abroad in Ireland. They told us first thing is do not get involved with the local politics just because you have absolutely no idea what the local politics are or what exactly is pissing the people off. So don't even try. Okay. All right, we are looking good, I think.
expect them to do what you can do. And most importantly, strive to ensure that the killer that exists within everyone acts for the greater good, for the Emperor and for all
No, the greater good.
humanity. Because war in itself is abhorrent and thoughtless, quite peculiar thoughts for a political officer, are they not? Yet in
Not
some
particularly.
aspects, this life stance resonates with the thoughts of another famous commissar, Kyphos Kane, at least during those moments when he was not overly concerned with saving his own precious life. Unfortunately, the death of Delane Oktar turned out to be highly ludicrous and even incredible. Having driven the green skins off the planet, Gilatus Decimus, the defenders of the Imperium decided to celebrate. But as the war boss of the Orcs retreated, he behaved extremely unusually. He ordered the wine reserves to be poisoned. Oktar, after drinking the poison, battled death for many long hours. He did not succeed, but his final act was the consecration of Ibram Gaunt as a full-fledged commissar. Later, our hero would name his mentor as one of the 3 people who had the greatest influence on his life. Well, a worthy epitaph in memory of a worthy man. And now it is time for us to move on. You have undoubtedly noticed that today's topic mentions a planet named Tanith. However, before that fateful journey, Ibram Gaunt had already seen plenty of warfare. He was attached to the 8th Hyrcan Regiment. In no small part, thanks to the influence of the late Oktar, the tactics of this unit were quite inventive and even sensible. The Hyrcans often utilized...
I get the feeling I'm probably going to learn a lot more about Gaunt just by reading his short stories. All right. Is there anything else I want to watch with you guys today? JDA. John De La Rose. Actually, it was through Warhammer that I finally realized that John De La Rose is in fact a grifter. I listened to a lot of his comic book content, and I thought he was like, pretty all right. And he was bashing the idiots of the comic book industry. So I thought he was pretty all right. And then he made a take about Warhammer. And keep in mind, I am still baby at Warhammer, where I'm looking at it like, wait, do you know anything about Warhammer? He made a statement. It was like a cover for one of the Black Library books, which featured on it, along with, I believe, Rabute Gilliman, a black ultramarine. And John De La Rose made this comment of, so this is why it's called the Black Library, and trying to clown on the fact that there's a black space marine and how this is totally against canon, blah, 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 blah. And all I'm thinking when I looked at that tweet is, the Imperium doesn't give a shit about skin color. Like, the two things that the Imperium really care about when it comes to the servers of the Emperor is that A, they love the Emperor, and B, they're going to do whatever it takes to protect the Imperium. So skin color in and of itself would not disqualify you from being a Space Marine. Being a woman would disqualify you, just because the way that the Space Marine is made is more compatible for a man than a woman. But skin color? All that really matters is you went through the proper channels to become a Space Marine, and that the gene seed is compatible to you. That's it. So shut up, dude. All right. Maybe we can watch a couple of meme videos. I like memeing. Oh, wait. Okay, and their comms are, that's 41 minutes, and it's Arch. The thing I don't like about Arch is his accent. His accent sounds extremely fake, doesn't it? It sounds like he's trying really hard to sound aristocratic, and it's kind of a turnoff as far as like a speaker goes. Like, I am one of those superficial viewers where if the main creator's voice annoys me, then I'm not particularly interested in listening to any more of them. They could be making some very valid points, but if they just have either a really annoying voice or just a really unpleasant voice to hear, I kind of don't want to listen. It sounds superficial, I know, but it is what it is. All right. Kriegsman in Paradise. Let's see if we can find it. I always love rewatching this. This is the comic series I've mentioned a few episodes back. Krieger in Paradise. Yay! This is from Chaotic Voices.
Is this hell?
That gets me every time. Because remember, Kriegsmen are all for doing anything for the Emperor to atone for the sins of their planet. So for a Kriegsman to get sent to a paradise world where there's really not a bunch of war going on, it probably would be considered hell to them.
Morning, Mr. Soldier.
Hello, Miss Citizen.
Please don't call me that. I already told you my name. So, have you figured it out? Why you were sent here?
Negative. I was sure it was a mistake, so I went to the office. They said there was no mistake. The order was carried out as intended. Still, I do not understand. I was born to serve the God Emperor, to fight and die for the sin of my people. How am I to repent if there's no war here?
Jeez, talking about die this, death that. You off-world people are so weird. Well, I don't understand lots of things, since I've never left this planet. But have you considered that maybe there are more ways to serve the God Emperor than just to die for him?
I've never.
Come on then. Maybe I can help you find something you can do to serve while you're stuck here on this boring, peaceful planet. Eh? How about... Oh, are you good with animal handling?
I excel at trapping mutant rodents. We use them as rations in the trenches.
What? Ew, no. I meant taking care of them, not killing.
I was tasked with feeding our horses with meat sometimes.
You silly. Horses don't eat meat.
Ours do.
When you said you were good with digging, this is not what I had in mind.
Is it not sufficient?
Not for the pumpkins.
Why does the silver behave so much better than the gold? But I've heard a theory about this particular comic that the Krieger is already dead, and as a reward for being a good servant of the God Emperor, his afterlife is spending it on this paradise planet. However, because he's been so hardwired all his life to be a soldier, he slowly just can't really handle it. So I think that's a very interesting theory, and I've seen another comic about it's kind of a parody well, they're all parody comics, I guess, but it's like a sister in battle and a Krieger start like dating in the best way you can when you're both on the battlefield, and the Krieger is like, every year I'm trying to die for the God Emperor, but I keep failing, but this year I feel it's going to be the good one. And the Sister of Battle is like, babe, I don't know if anybody's told you this, but the longer you live, the more heretics you can kill for the God Emperor. And he just like short circuits. I saw a comment down below being like, I get the feeling that this was a failsafe, that like the aneurysm is a failsafe to keep Kriegers from getting that idea so that they don't try to live long or try to preserve their own lives, which I suppose that's a good theory too.
The time has come, Mr. Soldier. Are you ready for our first mission?
Mission!
You don't have to be that tense.
Huh.
Our mission today is herding the Groxes. Uncle Jonas popped his back yesterday, so we'll stand in for him today.
Groxes? I thought they were supposed to be extremely aggressive.
On other planets, yes, but through selective breeding and our borderline supernatural, peaceful atmosphere, they have somehow become super duper docile. Well, most of them anyway.
Huh?
Oh no, it's the big one. I don't know why, but this one seems to always
Get
be
in there.
angry.
Get in the cracks.
Oh shoot, here it comes! Run, Mr. Soldier!
Bad. Bad cooks, bad cooks, bad cooks, bad cooks. Now, Grox. Seek attention!
He really is good with animals.
This is an Imperial public announcement. As a reminder, under no circumstances should you attempt to approach a Grox. Only the Grox on the boring planet are docile. You will die a horrible death.
Come on.
Do not waste
Good
Imperial
for you.
resources.
No. Definitely do not pet. Big no-no. Sharpie. Lethal. Agony. Will
I'm probably going to
kill
notice
you.
up like the writers when this thing dries.
This concludes the Imperial Public Service announcement. Now get back to work.
Aha! Huh?
It's the Homer Simpson technique of just throwing something in the water to kill all the fishies, and then all you have to do is collect them. You know, in the Simpsons movie where Barton, it's like a flashback to Barton and Homer going fishing, and Homer just takes like one of those electrical fly killer, like fly zapper things, and just dips it into the water to electrocute all the fish.
What you got there?
Huh? Bonjour, Miss Citizen.
Morning. What's that you're drinking?
This is the famous Krieg ration, a nutrition pack developed by the Great Krieg Science Division to ensure our soldiers can perform at their maximum combat efficiency with minimum downtime.
Whoa. Can I try?
Of course, but be careful, it is quite potent.
Yeah. Tastes like nothing.
Ah, taste does not affect combat efficiency.
Whatever. Let's get to work.
All right. Okay, that looking all right. I feel like I didn't get much progress done at all with this guy.
Good night, Mr. Soldier.
Let's fix this.
Darn, I haven't felt hungry in 3 days now. That thing is no joke. Oh wait, if I drink this now, it will be an indirect kiss with Mr. Soldier.
Yes, it's all coming together.
Okay, and for those of you who are a little bit confused by this, the pink-haired lady-looking thing is Lanesh, and the person behind them with the big broom that... Okay, it's a little complicated explaining who he is, but you know how the God Emperor is stuck on the Golden Throne? Well, right before he got stuck on the Golden Throne, apparently he decided to, like, psychically remove the part of him that had love for humanity, so he could have like the heartlessness and coldness to kill Horus, his favorite son. And they call it the Star Child is still like wandering around doing whatever. And in this comic, and then for this artist, he has like a whole other series of like the Chaos Gods living together as roommates, and the Star Child is constantly trying to mess with them.
Actually, entrenching tools go back at least to the times of the Roman legion, who used a type of mattock known as a dolabra. Julius Caesar, as well as other ancient writers, documented the use of spades and other digging implements as important tools of war.
No clue as to what he's talking about.
Remarks,
But at least he seems
would
happy.
ditch and run from
So I don't
side to
mind.
side with mobile stakes and they can. In more modern times, which is still the ancient.
Note to self: never ask Mr. Soldier why he keeps carrying that shovel around ever again.
Yeah, my boyfriend, he can and will talk about his favorite aspects about Rome himself. I feel like every guy, to a certain extent, if their woman asks them like a very specific question about like the Roman Empire or whatever war that they're into, like World War II or the Civil War or even the First World War, or maybe something more obscure, that they would spend hours just divulging everything they know about this war. and then the woman would just be stuck listening to it for the rest of the day.
Trenches towards the wall.
So it's into the void, now me girls and me boys, from mother's hands we go. We'll be sailing to the sun till the voyage is done.
Oh, are you practicing a CQC move?
What?
Miss that knife.
What? No, this is called a carving.
Oh,
Sit down, let me show you. Ta-da! Mini Mr. Soldier. How about you give it a go, Mr. Soldier?
like this?
Is that me? Not bad for a first time. Huh. I thought you'd be better with knives.
Oh, this is unacceptable. How could I atone for my ancestors before me? This is lack of proficiency, not worthy of king. Miss Citizen, I must request 3 days off from the farm to work on my shortcoming.
Like I told you before, I'm not your boss, but you do you.
3 days later.
Morning, Mr. Soldier. Ready for some farm works? Whoa! What's with all of these? Don't tell me you haven't moved from that spot since then.
Oh, hello, Miss Citizen. Mine apologies, I didn't hear you approach. Reporting. I think I'm starting to understand the basics of carving now. Here is my latest attempt. Robute Gilliman. A work in progress.
This is out of this world! Mr. Soldier, stop! At this rate, we'll run out of wood!
Must be more proficient!
One thing that's taken me a very long time to learn about men is you point something out that you feel needs to be done and they will do it. It was bizarre for me when I first noticed it. But it's like guys are hardwired to fix problems that are pointed out to them, even if it's a problem like themselves. Like, oh, you need to get better at, like, say, sharpening knives. And they will spend hours trying to, like, research the best way to sharpen knives, like the best kind of tools and techniques to sharpen knives. And he will become like a master of sharpening knives within like a week. And it's that kind of like dedication that feels alien to me. I mean, I'm a pretty dedicated writer and I'm pretty dedicated in some of the things that I do, but it's just so off the rails to see some of these guys they dedicate sometimes their entire lives to like a very specific thing, and whether or not it can actually be useful in the real world, it's fascinating.
See, there were these 2 cultists in an Inquisition dungeon, and one night they decide they don't like living in a dungeon anymore. So they decide they're going to escape. So, like, they get up onto the rooftop, and there, just across this narrow gap, they see the rooftops of the town, stretching away in the moonlight. Stretching away to freedom. Now, the first guy, he jumps right across with no problem. But his friend did not dare make the leap. You see, he's afraid of falling. So then, the first guy has an idea. He says, "Hey, I have my flashlight with me. I'll shine it across the gap between the buildings. You can walk along the beam and join me." But the second guy just shakes his head. He says, "What do you think I am? Crazy? You turned it off when I was halfway across." Huh?
My comic book fans or my comic book followers will know exactly where that joke came from.
Huh?
But that's impossible. You cannot walk on light.
Huh? No, that's not the joke.
Oh, could you explain the joke?
Oh, well, you see, since they're both crazy, forget this. It's the worst when you have to explain your jokes. Now it's your turn.
But I don't know how to tell jokes.
Just think of something that makes you laugh. Stories that make you smile, like this.
I don't know any. Wait. There was this one time.
Huh?
It was one of my earliest deployments. I can't recall the name of the planet, but they refused to pay annual tithes to the Imperium. The Death Corps was sent to deal with the traitors. We pushed them back to their final stronghold, the Hive City. There was a commander back then. He was not from Kree, but I remember him well. He said to me,
"Trooper, you see that city?
"Yes, sir."
I don't want to."
"Understood, sir."
is I that's another line that absolutely kills me because it is so direct and so to the point, like no way to misinterpret what he meant.
So we started shelling the city. Through nights and days, the guns kept roaring. I was rotated out on the 4th month, but I heard they kept shelling for a while. For 10 years, the Hive City was reduced to naught but rubble and dust. 2 years after all signs of life from the Hive City ceased, and 5 years after the Hive issued its unconditional surrender. Yeah, I like that, Commander.
Apparently that story is from one of the Krieger books. I believe it's like Siege of Vrax is when that story is told. I haven't read the book yet. I have it on my bookshelf ready to be read.
Well, that's a cool story, but I don't think it counted as a...
I did it.
Huh? But that's not a joke.
But I'm smiling.
Huh? You're the best, Mr. Soldier.
Huh?
I think is there much? Oh yeah, her song, which we can skip that. But yeah, so I guess that's the end of the stream. I got a little bit of progress with my little dude. I touched up some of the gold. I gave his wings some gold, and I actually got some work done on the chainsword, and it still doesn't look the greatest. I'll try and get the details more refined, maybe a little bit over my staycation. So I hope that, yeah, he's not the greatest looking, but I hope to get him at least decent looking. All right, so that is the end of that. If you like my stream, leave a comment down below. If you have any suggestions for what I should listen to and react to while I paint, let me know. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good rest of your Sunday. Bye.